those hats there. How's everybody doing? All right. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Hey, before I get started, I want to invite everybody to Pro Day. We're going to have that on Friday, March 27th. It's going to be up here at the facility. Fletcher will get you the exact times of everything, but I really feel like we've got a bunch of guys who have a great opportunity to play in the NFL. And we'd love for you to come out, and when we get done with the Pro Day, you can interview them and talk to them, ask them questions, just to kind of go on that a little bit. Tanner played in the Senior Bowl. I got great reports back on him. Dean Connors actually played in 2 of these All-Star games, which is really unusual. Scored a touchdown in the Shrine Bowl. He also played in the Hula Bowl. And Carlos Allen, I've got a couple of my former players who are high-level executives, I guess, in personnel departments in the NFL, said he did a great job with his interviews. And Latrell McCutcheon and Eddie Walls, the American Bowl, they didn't get an opportunity to play in the game, but went through all the practice sessions, and I got great feedback on them. So Friday, March 27th, and Fletcher will get a hold of you on that. I also want to just kind of give a high school update. Originally this was the only high school signing day for some of you that have been around a couple of years. But now that we didn't sign anybody today. So we signed 21 guys in the early signing period in December, and 15 of those guys are here on campus and just doing a great job of getting acclimated to the University of Houston, how we do things as a football program. And then 6 will be joining us in late May when they graduate from high school. But something that someone sent me the other day, our class contains 3 of the top 10 all-time rated U of H recruits in history. So we signed a great high school class last year, signed a great high school class this year, and we're very, very pleased with them. I wanted to go over the portal mostly today. We signed another great portal class. I want to make sure I recognize our outstanding scouting department, personnel department. We've got a little smaller staff than maybe other schools in the Big 12. So those guys got to work their tail off, but I got great trust in them. They did an unbelievable job last season with getting the right guys out of the portal. There's two areas you got to make sure you're good at when you're recruiting. One is you got to be a great talent evaluator, and number 2, you got to be a great information gatherer because you want to get the right guys here on campus. But Wes Fritz, our general manager, Casey Smithson, Jay Gerdner, Jake Pittman, and then a whole slew of student interns that help us as well. Our coaching staff, our support staff, all of them do a fabulous job. This transition from the AAC to the Big 12, from group of 6 football to Power 4 football was a big transition. We went from being one of the top resourced programs in group of 6 football and in the AAC to being one of the lowest resource programs. I believe we're the lowest in the Big 12 in terms of rev share, front loading, NIL, all those different kind of things. So we got to be very mindful of our money, and we can't make mistakes. It's very, very important that when we part of that is money now. It used to be where it was about your facilities, it was about the university, it was about the city. All of those things were top, I think, in the nation. But we've got to do a great job of making sure that we don't make mistakes, when we're recruiting guys. And I think these guys have proved it last year, and I think they're going to prove it again this year. One of our slogans here is perfection is our goal, but excellence will be tolerated. And this area, we've got to be spot on as well. 2 areas that I want to really help with our athletic department. I think Eddie Nunez does an outstanding job. He really does a great job, but I want to make sure I do a good job of helping us with ticket sales. I think we need to do a better job of getting people out there. This is a team that just came off of a big bowl win against LSU in the Texas Bowl. And I was very, very proud of the amount of Houston people that came out to that bowl game. We got to get all those people over here to TDECU Stadium as well next season. So I'm going to do a great job helping Eddie in that area. And then Alvin Franklin, one of our assistant athletic directors in charge of fundraising, I got to do a great job of helping us fundraise to build up our NIL program, to get it to, middle of the pack. We just want to be close. We can be close. We'll do a great job of being highly competitive. But I really believe you can win a national championship here at the University of Houston. That's an area that we got to improve on in order to win a national championship, which is our goal. Talking about our transfer portal class, we brought in 19 guys. All right, 9 from Power 4 institutions, 7 from Group of 6, and 3 from 1AA FCS. It's the number 7 ranked transfer portal class in the nation. We've gotten a lot of kudos with this class. One of the things we look at, and some other places look at it, I saw an interesting article, I believe it was yesterday, in The Athletic, about snaps coming in, snaps going out. And we brought in this past season 7,509 snaps with those 19 guys, and we only lost 1,900 snaps. So that's a really good ratio. It's a net gain of over 5,500 snaps. So we've got guys who have experience. They've played at this level of football, which I think is really, really important. We only lost one guy who started a majority of games for us last season. We had 8 group of 6 transfers that came in and played for us who made all Big 12 in 2025. So it shows you that we hit on a bunch of different guys this last season. Just to kind of go through these guys that we signed, and you can ask me questions on them later. Mekhi Hughes. Mekhi played for me at Tulane, was a great running back, went for over 3,100 yards in the 2 years that he played there, 24 touchdowns, 23 starts. He transferred to Oregon. We were fortunate to get Mekhi back. Obviously, I know him very well. Trent Walker, who had 154 receptions for 1,800 yards at Oregon State. We watched a lot of tape on him prior to playing Oregon State. He also returns punts and kicks. He had 23 career starts there, over 1,800 snaps. He gives us that tall guy out on the perimeter, that can be a mismatch with smaller corners, and we're looking for a guy like that. Muiz Tonkara. I hate having a name wrong. I'll get better as that goes along, but we recruited the heck out of him 2 years ago coming out of high school at Clear Springs. And this happens with a lot of guys. Sometimes guys think going away is a good thing. They think the grass is greener someplace else, and they find out it's only green, and he wanted to come back home, and we're very, very fortunate to get him to come back. He was a top 100 ranked recruit in the state of Texas. Big, long, athletic guy, 6'4", close to 215, tremendous length. He'll be a great receiver for us out on the perimeter. We got another wide receiver from Texas Tech, from right down the road at Bryan High School, Tyson Turner. He was also a top 100 ranked recruit coming out of high school. He's 6'2", 213, so a bigger guy. High jump 6'10" as a junior in high school, graduated early, didn't compete as a senior, so that kind of shows you his athletic ability. We signed some really good offensive linemen. We needed to. We lost some good offensive linemen. Shadre Hurst. Shadre, was a 2-time All-American at Tulane. Shadre played for me there. We were very fortunate to get him. He's got 37 career starts. He's allowed 1 sack and 1,224 pass pro snaps in his career. That's pretty good. He's got a 90.5 PFF grade, Pro Football Focus. We use that grading system quite frequently. And he's a first-team preseason All-American as well. So we're very excited to get him. He's, one of the strongest guys I've ever coached as far as a squat, bench, and those kind of different things. So, and he's got a tremendous work ethic. He's the kind of guy you want to have in your program. Anthony Boswell, a transfer for us from Toledo. Was first-team All-MAC at Toledo, freshman All-American there as well. played right at 900 snaps, had an unbelievable PFF grade, one of the national leaders as far as centers are concerned. You can't have enough guys who can snap the football for you. Offensive tackle, Drew Terrell. Drew is from Miami of Ohio. He was all MAC there last season, had 1,100 snaps playing tackle. I've been very impressed with him during our workouts. He's 6'4", 6'5", 300 pounds, and moves extremely well. Another guy who went away and wanted to come back to Houston, Hayden Wright. He's from Kingwood High School, originally went to Northwestern, came back home. His brother, coincidentally, worked in our equipment room for 5 years, I think, 2016 to 21. His grandpa was actually president of the Miami Dolphins from 88 to 2006, Mr. Jones, but he's very impressive, a little over 6'4". If you guys don't know me, when I tell you guys 6'4", a lot of people would think he's 6'7". I do by pro measure, barefoot, heels out, heels in, toes out, all those kind of things. But he's about 275 right now. We'll put some weight on him in the spring. And then we picked up a tight end who I'm very excited about from Kingwood Park High School. Another guy wanted to come back home, Patrick Overmeyer. He had a great PFF offensive grade, and last year he had 26 receptions and 5 touchdowns for UTSA. And he got in the portal, and head coach over UTSA is a good friend of mine, and couldn't say enough great things about Patrick. And then the last guy on the offensive side of the ball that we signed is quarterback Luke Carney. Luke's from Dallas Christian School, was at Syracuse last year, had over 25 Division I offers coming out of high school, and he will compete for that quarterback position. He's very excited to be here, tremendous athlete who also throws the ball well. On the defensive side of the ball, big defensive linemen. We need to get bigger, longer, taller to compete for national championships here at the University of Houston. Demarion Thomas, who originally went to Vanderbilt. I've got good friends on the Vandy staff. Went to Oklahoma State last year. He's had 17 starts in his college career. Big guy, 6'2", 340 pounds. Unbelievable measurements. He's got a 6'8" wingspan, which is excellent. That means he's able to play long. Defensively, you're wanting to play long. Offensively, you're wanting to play close, and he certainly is able to do that. He's been very impressive in the weight room and also in our running drills. Another defensive lineman, Ijiro Egodabarie. Pretty good? All right, he's a transfer from Yale. You can probably pronounce my name. He's a Yale graduate. And he's got 13 starts in his career. He's first team All-Ivy League in 2024, was injured last year. He's getting healthy now. Great run defensive grade in PFF. He's a big dude. He's 6'3", 6'4", 330 pounds, and I'm excited to watch him this spring as well. One of our edge players, some people would call them defensive ends, Ashton Porter, another guy from the greater Houston area, from Cy Ranch High School, went to Oregon, had a tackle for loss in the CFP semifinal against Indiana, 4-star recruit, wanted to come back home. We're pumped about having Ashton, played a ton of snaps for Oregon last season. Transfer linebacker from Ole Miss, Jaden Yates, 22 career starts in college, over 1,500 career snaps. Before he went to Ole Miss, he was at Marshall. He was first team all-conference there in 2024. And I think he played 30, 40 snaps in their semifinal game as well. Another linebacker, Miller Malone. His father is Mackay Malone, actually played here at the University of Houston and was a very good player here at Houston. He's from Barbers Hill High School, wanted to come back home, went to Western Kentucky, played almost 600 snaps as a true sophomore this last year. The star position, that nickel position, the one where Rook Brown and Mark Stampley played for us last year, that's going to come in here is Javion White, He's a transfer, first team all-conference at Tulane. We recruited Javion when I was there and got him to commit and sign. Had 5 interceptions this last year. So he's they played a similar type defensive structure to us, so he'll be very, very familiar with it. Cornerback Jalen Mayo. He's from Stephen F. Austin. All conference, 28 career starts, 1,000 snaps last year at SFA, had over a 90% pro football focused defensive grade. And I got an interesting text from Lance's Airline. I'm sure a bunch of you guys know Lance, and Lance was watching the other corner who, for his draft work, who was playing in the Senior Bowl, and he kept seeing Jalen flashing more than that guy. And he sent me a long text message about that, which I thought was great. He said, congratulations, great get for U of H. And then kicker, Evan Noel from Florida. He was rated the #1 kicker in the nation coming out of high school from 247. He's got 4 years of eligibility. And then we also signed a long snapper, Jack Wentz from Florida A&M. He's got 13 career starts and 129 long snaps in real games in his career. So we're very, very proud of the work that everybody did, both in high school and also with the portal class. And I'll open it up for any questions anybody might have.
Willie, if I could start with the offensive line, do you prefer to have Shadre remain at guard, or is that with Boswell?
We're going to work him at center and guard, and Shadre's actually started some games at tackle. He can play any place. I didn't mention, I think he's a 2-time state heavyweight wrestling champ, state of Georgia. I mean, he manhandles people, and we're going to have him work both because at the next level, he's going to either be a guard or a center. Anthony has played mostly center, but the thing we're going to do is put the best 5 out there, but you can't have enough guys who can snap consistently for you.
And along the lines of wanting to get bigger, did you feel like those 3 are a good start in terms of the size?
Those 3 guys are a good start, and I think Hayden Wright's going to, here in another year or so, he's going to be a 300-pounder, 6'4". He's got great feet. I'd rather get him bigger than try to get him to lose weight. Sometimes when you do that, it's difficult for the guy to do it. But he's going to be a very good player for us as well.
Coach, you touched on a bunch of stuff before you started.
Too much?
No, it's fantastic. Your system works. You just proved that. And you're also saying that there are some limitations to NIL, et cetera here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You seem to have cracked the code with that. Could you share with your fans the things that you're looking for that produce such great results when you have to, in your words, be almost perfect?
Well, I've kind of done this every place I've gone to and maybe didn't have everything and we had to overcome some things. This day and age, this is one of them right now. We try to accent the positives that we have here at the University of Houston. I mean, what a room we're sitting in right now. We've got an unbelievable facility. We really do. It's incredible. We're the epicenter for football in the world, Houston, Texas. We got an outstanding university. But there's one area we got to improve on, and that's we're near the bottom of Power 4 football and definitely in the Big 12, and we want to get better in that area, and I can help in that area. I got to do a better job of this. This day and age, it's just not about coaching. There's some other things that the head coach needs to do, and I can't, say enough about the great job that I think Eddie Nunez and his staff have done, and Alvin Franklin and his staff, the great job that they've done. But I can help, and I need to help in that area as well. We want to compete for a national championship, and we just know that we can't afford to make mistakes when we're signing guys. We got to have guys that come in here, play for us, and are outstanding players. For Eddie Walls, for instance, he's kind of banged up coming out of FIU. We took a chance on him, and guys all conference, probably going to play in the NFL. So those are the kind of guys we try to find.
If I could just follow up, I apologize. How big of a deal in the transfer portal when you're attracting talent like you just had to have the number 7 class is the fact that your quarterback position is so settled, not only for now but for the future?
I think it's great. And I'll tell you something else, too. And all these guys came in. Connor Wigman was the first guy to sit and visit with him. All these high school kids know Keyshawn Henderson, every one of them. And all these portal kids know Connor. And both those guys did a great job of recruiting. But, Connor was all in. He was a little disappointed. He was out hunting with his dad, so he wasn't able to come up here when a few guys came in and visited. But I know he talked to him a little bit. But it's important. If you're going to play for a national championship and you don't have a great quarterback, you got to be unbelievable every place else. We're very fortunate with our quarterback position here at Houston.
Willie, how much does character and being a team guy play into the evaluations?
Huge.
And how do you sort of evaluate that when you're looking at these guys?
Well, one of the great things for me is I've recruited all over the state of Texas, for a long time, since the 80s. Right? So I know a lot of coaches. Something that I'm going to do, you guys may want to do a story on it sometime, but I'm going to teach a theory of football class here at the University of Houston. I've done that at my other schools, and sometimes I go out recruiting here in Texas. And, Coach, I took your class so many years ago. I don't maybe remember them, but hopefully I helped them a little bit. I want to make sure I leave this profession better than how I found it, which was great when I found it. When you got to talk to a lot of people, and the position coaches got to do a great job of that as well. And it's not just 1 or 2 people; it's 4, 5, 6, 7 people. There's sometimes kids come on visit, and I'll be honest with you, I get turned off by them, and we don't offer them. Sometimes most parents, student athletes, coaches realize they're recruiting us just like we're recruiting them. It's a 2-way street, not a 1-way street. But I had 2 guys that are brand new that came in here just a few weeks ago that grabbed me this morning, while we were getting ready to do some yoga, and tell me, Coach, you got a really great group of young men in here. I said, no, you're wrong. We have got a really great group of young men in here. They've been embraced by our players. And it's so important to have great culture. I'll be out there in a couple hours watching, basketball. Coach has got tremendous players. He's got tremendous coaches, but he's got tremendous culture. You got to have all 3 to play for national championships.
How do you think that success in the portal last year, you were able to build on that this year? How much did that help?
I think a lot of things help. Winning 10 games, winning the bowl game, I think that helps also. And, people are just attracted to the city of Houston. That's one of the things when I'm going to go out with Alvin and Eddie and, fundraise and get people to come to get ball games. Hey, when the University of Houston does well, the city of Houston does well. We need to get, we need to get to a point in time where we need to expand that stadium. So it's, that's what I'm wanting to accomplish here. That's why I came here.
Eddie told us that you made it a priority to get more resources for your staff and for RevShare. Has that been signed yet?
It's in the works right now. It's not totally done at all, but it's in the works.
You
Close.
feel like you're getting what you want?
Yeah, it just, one of the probably good things about me is I've been at Blinn Junior College in Central Missouri and Sam Houston. I've been at some places, and you got to be realistic too. But in this day and age, and if you want to compete, for a national championship at the FBS level, you got to make sure. Hey, I'm very fortunate. I retained all my coaches except 1. And that's sometimes doesn't happen, especially when you have success. They're working their tails off. I mean, I talk to Eddie, probably 2-3 times a week, and I try not to bother him very often, and but he's doing a great job. He's really, getting out and about and meeting people and helping us. We just got to keep working at it on a daily basis.
And do you have dates for spring ball?
Yeah, we do. We're gonna release that. We need to release that. Let's try to do that tomorrow. We're going to start spring ball the second week in March. All right, we're going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday that week, and then we're going to have spring break the following week. And then we're going to come back and have our 12 practices and do our regular Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday routine with our spring game being Saturday, April 18th. And I also invite you, if you'd like to come. We've done this the last 2 years. We had like 180 guys there last year. You know, we have an alumni event on Friday, April 17th, the night before the spring game, and we had all sorts of guys come back, and we've sent something out to them to save that date as well.
Coach, I know Ashton Porter and Christian Brathwaite are good friends and former high school teammates. So how helpful is that when you have someone who already knows?
I think it's very helpful. You know, Dylan Cattle, a wide receiver for us, also played high school ball with him. But I think the main thing is he wanted to get back home. You know, you could see when he came up here on his visit how close he was with his family. But it certainly doesn't help, you know, having quality guys like Christian and Dylan to help recruit him.
Coach, I know Pro Day is a really big moment for the program. What are you hoping that NFL scouts take away from this day?
Well, you know, I try to stay out until I'm asked questions because they've all got their own ideas. I'm about 8 for 8 on guys that I tried to push to get drafted, didn't get drafted, went free agent, and ended up making teams. All right, so I've learned my lesson. You know, they're going to do what they want to do, right? But I just think, you know, these guys, this is a really special class. They were good young men, no issues, no problems, tremendous work ethic, you know, competitive, tough. You know, those are all the things you're looking for on the field and off the field. And I think, you know, I think we got, you know, 3, 4, 5 draftable type guys that have a chance to make it. Just from my experience over the years, seeing guys that made it, and I think these guys can. I think we got some guys can definitely make it. It'll be up to the NFL to determine which ones.
Besides the offensive line, with all the transfers and new players you have brought in, would you say there's any other unit on the field that's going to have some major tinkering to get them at their best?
So, which you mean changing which positions? That we got new guys that are going to jump in and play. Okay, you know, secondary wise, we're going to need some incoming freshmen to play. We're going to need some guys who got redshirted to play. You know, we're really good across the board with our starters, but we have got to do a better job. You know, we got to do a good job of building depth, you know, within our program. We've got some young defensive linemen I think can play for us. And it's going to be a very competitive spring. You know, the goal of right now is getting everybody spring ball healthy. The number one goal coming out of spring ball is everybody getting to summer workouts healthy. Number one goal, summer workouts to preseason camp, everybody getting there healthy. You know, but you got to have that physicality that is so different in the game of football. You know, there's a lot of sports that are contact sports. Football is collision sport. It's different than all these other sports. So you got to work that some. And I want to see some of these young offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, all positions, show us some things this spring. Hey, there's going to be some guys, you know, I remember one time I had a guy at Tulane, you know, he played over 3,000 snaps in his college career. And, you know, I backed off on him in spring ball. And we're going to have some guys like that we're going to back off of and make sure that, you know, it'd be like, you know, having a 8-year NFL pro playing every snap during preseason camp. You know, you want to be smart with those guys. So it's going to be very competitive. That answer your question? Okay.
Coach, you had in these past portal cycles, you have guys that either have played for you or were recruited by you. And just in this day of college football with NILs and things like that, how would you say the relationship aspect of recruiting still remains? It's
still there. You know, there's that is still important. You know, I think there's no question we signed some guys for maybe less than they could have gotten in other places, but they wanted to be here. Either guys that we kept or guys that, you know, that came in. You know, having a relationship with Mackay and Chadre and, and Javion to a certain extent, I think certainly helped us. So yeah, relationships still matter without question. That's part of the equation. It's not all of it. It used to be all of it at one time. It's changed. It's one of the things you got to do in this game or in life. You got to be able to adapt. And I think we've done a good job of that here at U of H.
Coach, you kept repeating the phrase, they wanted to come back home. How exciting is it for the program that you're finally able, or you're in a position to be able to retain and return some of this local talent?
I think it's very important. I've mentioned it before. I think that's what helped us at Tulane. We had a bunch of New Orleans kids who went far away and came back and were great players for us. We got a lot of guys that have, gone far away and come back. It's just easier. When I was a head coach at Blinn Junior College, I know that was a long time ago, but all my guys except maybe 2 and 4 years were from the state of Texas. And I had very few problems. I went up to Central Missouri. All my guys were from Missouri or Kansas, a few guys from Oklahoma. I had very few problems, had successful teams. I came back down to Sam Houston, and all my guys were from Texas except maybe Tim Flanders. He was a pretty good running back. He was from Oklahoma City, Midwest City, Oklahoma. But, and then Georgia, when I was at Georgia Southern, they were from Georgia and North Florida. Tulane, they were from that area. Mississippi, Louisiana, some Texas guys, Alabama, Panhandle of Florida, close. Their parents could be there. They'd get back home. And then, the thing I'm most proud of here, I have not gotten on a plane yet to go recruit. My coaches haven't either. We go recruit high school guys, we drive. We hit places on the way there, and we hit places on the way back. It's nice and easy. And I brag about that to the kids we recruit. Because sometime they're going to be back home. It's their culture, right? They're close to, their family. And we got so many great things here at the University of Houston.
Willie, going back to the spring time management with some guys, have you sort of developed a plan of how you want to handle Keyshawn in the spring? And I asked that with Luke being here. Sort of, do you think those will be the two main guys that get a lot of the reps in the spring?
Connor's going to get a bunch of reps too. We're just going to be smart with him. He's not, he's not going to run the ball nearly as much as we ran him last season. But he's going to get a ton of reps. Because so the thing we do in spring ball that might be different than other people is everybody gets reps. We instead of during the season we'll go 12 plays of 7-on-7 Pat Skelly. In the spring, we'll go 36 plays. So everybody's getting reps. Everybody's, that helps build team culture as well. Then you start seeing guys that maybe, you weren't quite sure about. All of a sudden, hey, man, I think this guy can play 5-10 snaps. A guy you think is going to play 5-10 snaps, he might work his way into playing 20-30 snaps. So all those guys are going to get reps without question.
And on the receivers, are they all perimeter guys, or do you feel like where's Walker? Walker's a perimeter guy.
Yeah, he's
right?
a perimeter guy. They're all slots. Walker's more of a perimeter guy. You got outside and inside receivers. So those guys, some of them are outside, some are inside. Usually the bigger guys we're going to put on the outside, and the guys who are maybe twitchy and look not quite as big play inside.
On kind of the exposure front for recruiting in general, what was there, how much of an impact did having 4 non-Saturday games do on, in terms of exposure, considering that for 2026 it's all Saturday games?
I think there's a possibility of a couple of those games being on Friday night. I don't think there's going to be any Thursdays, but in this day and age, you never know. They could change it. Hey, you want exposure. I think something that was great for us in the Texas Bowl, there was another game that started at 6:30 and it got over at 9, and we were the only game on TV. So I kind of judge games, how many people are watching based on how many text messages I get. And I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of text messages. I'm not exaggerating. I might have got 500-600 text messages after the game from people about that. It's the second most I've ever had. So It's a lot of people were watching. We want that exposure. We want people to see. It's something that's neat is we had a bunch of prospects, and we can't buy them tickets to the game or anything, but we had a ton of them that went to the game. I was just out. It was last week, and last couple of weeks recruiting, and kids, I was at your bowl game, and what a great atmosphere. 65,000 people, 40,000 of them wearing red, and supporting U of H. So it was really good for our program.
Coach, if I can go back to the wide receiver room, just what are your thoughts on the talent that you got through the transfer portal and how they can complement some of the returners like Amari and Kobe and some of the other guys in the high school?
Well, you want to. We're very, very fortunate, that we've got a lot of returning guys. You just mentioned two of them with Amari and Kobe, and another receiver in the room, Harvey Broussard, played a ton of snaps. Jaquise Martin played a lot for us. So we got experience coming back as well, and you can't have enough great players, but we had to be smart, like I talked about before, in making sure we got the right positions to come in here. We just can't, recruit guys, especially out of the portal, and have too many guys at one position, because that's going to hurt us with another spot. We're not, ready to do that yet, but and then, Matthew Wyckoff had a really good game in the bowl game at center for us. We needed to get a center in here. I just think that's such an important position with ID in fronts. And, and you can't have a play without an accurate snap. It's done. You have one bad snap, you had 70 plays, you really only had 69. So Anthony can do that. And we got some other guys that have shown us they can do that. So, I just think it was important for us to get the right portal guys at the right position. And then I'm excited to these freshmen that we were able to redshirt this last year. I'm excited to see them play. We're going to throw them into the fire. I think a bunch of those guys, particularly on the defensive line, are going to be able to play for us. It's going to be interesting with some of the new rules. I was at the American Football Coaches Association meeting. We had a 4-hour meeting talking about you can't say the words 5 for 5. That's a no-no. You can't say that. But they may change it from 4-game redshirt with a 5th or 6th or 7th, depending if you get in the CFP playoff games and go to the championship. They might make that 9, where you can play 9 games. But you can't go 5 for 5. So we're going to hear the answer on that here in a while, and if that's what happens, really you're going to be able to play your whole roster. If all you got to worry about is 3 games during the course of the season, so that'll be interesting to see.
Willie, what sticks out about Mekhi Hughes as a back, and how do you see that running back room?
He's just a badass. He's tough, man. He doesn't say boo. He's very, very quiet. It took him about a year to start talking to me all the time. Really good young man, but he's just tough, man. He's hard to bring down one-on-one. He's just really difficult. I can't remember the stat on it, but one year he went for 1,600 yards. And the amount of missed tackles, the first guy didn't bring him down very often. We got there, but there's some parts of his game we got to develop. Dean Connor's a great thing about Dean. He could do everything. Catch the ball, he could run in the interior, he could run on the perimeter. He was assignment sound always. So we got to do all that. I'm excited. Rayshawn Sanford's coming back. He's fully healthy now. DJ Butler came on at the end of the season. We got the all-time leading rusher in the history of the state of Texas coming in, John Hebert. It's my Cajun coming out. He goes Hebert, right? All right. I want to screw that up. Some places they call it Hebert. All right.
Some have said that Overmeyer, his potential.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah.
But what do you, now that you kind of have been able to implement how you want to use the tight end and you had Tanner here, how does he fit in terms of size and ability?
Well, he's a big guy. He's 6'5", 6'6". He's 230. I think in a while he'll be about 240. Our nutritionist, Emily England, does a super job with these guys on a daily basis. Our strength coaches do a great job of monitoring those guys at breakfast and lunch, in between. But it comes down to the individual doing it. Patrick certainly does. Did I mention before about talking to Coach Traylor from UTSA? And he just thinks the world of him. He thinks he's a great player. Sometimes when guys are leaving your program, you don't hear that all the time. But he couldn't say enough great things about Patrick. And, just watching him when we're running and lifting and movement and all those kind of things, I've been really impressed.
I'm guessing Coach Trice lobbied for Mayo.
Oh, yes, yes.
And he had him at the
Yeah.
What's the sort of maybe the book on Jay?
Tall, long. He's 6'1", which is a really tall corner. He may even be taller than that. And he's got extremely long length with his arms. I think he's 33-inch arm length, which is outstanding for a corner. It's like that comment from Lance. I think it's when I was looking at Coach Trice, and we played him last year